Welcome to the Students S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast. We are joined here by myself as hosting. I'm Michael Spack alongside Nelson making his first appearance on the podcast.
Evening, everyone.
And Ginger Dan.
How you doing, guys?
Just wanted to say, Nelson, it's his first appearance. I wanted him on the podcast for a while.
It is. I've been so busy with exams, and I'm so excited to finally be done with them so I can talk about...
To tell you how much devoted Nelson is tonight, he has not slept for 2 days.
I have not.
That's pretty normal, though. So,
let's not undersell Nelson here.
I'm not. But Nelson, for the audience, what number cup of coffee are you on?
This cup of coffee, it's probably 4.
Is that just today or since you've been up?
That's just today, but that's also including a 5-hour energy.
That's right. I saw one after he took that today earlier.
Gotta keep myself going.
So we're gonna transport ourselves. I want us to get into a nice mindset here. Last time we did an audio cast. We got to pick up a better name for audio cast. That's another task.
Just a
podcast?
Well, podcast, whatever you want to call it.
I don't think podcasts are supposed to have video.
Podcasts aren't.
I
Words.
think that's something different.
They're not.
That's a recent thing.
It is.
I'm not a fan of it. I like audio.
This is the Student S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast. The podcast, as I like to say. So we got last time I was here with Nick and we did Gotham Central. That was early 2000s. Let's go on a little journey. Let's go take us back to 1991.
Everyone's favorite year in the 90s. I
mean, this is before we were born.
This is a fact. My sister was born this year, though.
My brothers were alive. But we're going to go and read a book that we talked about for a while. We wanted it released because we knew how good it was, and it finally was. We have The Flash by Mark Waid, book number 1, and that's coming up just a little bit. Stick around. Dan, you hold the book in your hands right now. Let's take us through the contents of The Flash by Mark Waid, book 1.
So, this book collects the very beginnings of Mark Waid's Flash, as you would guess, by Volume 1.
Very long run of 3 runs he would do on The Flash.
Specifically, this starts off with the Flash Special number 1, goes on to the Flash Annual number 4, and then collects 62 to 68 and finishes out with Flash Annual number 5. And the credits for this book, gotta give credit where it's due. The writers, Mark Waid, obviously, with some assistance by Craig Boldman, Gerard Jones, William Messner-Loebs, and Len Strazewski. The pencilers are Craig Brassfield, Travis Charest, Michael T. Collins, Paris Collins, Carmine Infantino, Greg LaRocque, Grant Meehan, Irv Novick, Mike Parabek, and then inkers, there's also a lot of these, Paris Collins, Dan Davis, Tim Zahn, Dick Giordano, Scott Hanna, Carmine Infantino, John Lowe, Jose Marzan Jr., Andrew Papoy, Roy Richardson, and Josef Rubinstein.
And I guess before we dive in here, we're going to tackle this kind of story arc by story arc here, which the first 2 are just one-offs. We have a special and an annual, and then we get into what I like to call, and we're going to talk about Mark Waid here for a second. Mark Waid can do this thing that only I've really seen Mark Waid and maybe a few other people do, where he does what I like to call the perfect superhero book, where he's able to just to channel this loving energy for the medium of superheroes and put it on the page like no one else is able to see. And just every once in a while, he just hits a home. I think he has a lot more home runs than he does strikes. And this is, I feel like, Born to Run's a home run.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's
Born to Run made me fall in love with this book.
Oh, definitely. It's such a great
and,
story.
This run in general.
But it's funny. He's done 3 runs in The Flash, and now he's over at Marvel, and he's beginning his 3rd run on Captain America.
Is it his 3rd? I thought it was his 2nd.
3rd run.
Wow.
So very kind of a fun, crazy, kooky facts here. I guess Flash fact, if we will, since we're talking about Flash. What I was talking with Vince with this. Like, I can't name another writer that has had 3 seminal runs
on two
separate characters. Well, assuming this Captain America is going to run. I read 695, and once again, like only Mark Waid can do, just capture that energy of the perfect superhero book with with Somni on art. It's I loved 695, but he's able to channel this just absolute feeling of wonder and excitement and just pure beauty of superheroes.
Just good superheroic storytelling.
Just on the page. And he's one of the few guys that's really able to do that. And I think, just particularly for his style, I think he has a signature way of doing that.
Mhm.
So diving in here, we have the Flash Special number 1. And I'm going to say this right now. I was really excited to get this book. The first 2 issues in it.
Very rough.
A
They
bit
were
hard to get
they're
through.
hard to get
hard
through.
to get through.
I'll admit I didn't actually finish the annual. I don't know if I actually read it at all. I didn't read the annual. I did read the special, and I liked what they were going for with it, but it was a bit stale.
So the way the special is set up is you have 4 different eras of Flash written by 4 different writers.
From that respective era.
And they are each, in every era, the Flash of that era, Jay, Barry, Wally, unknown Flash of the future.
Oh, but we do know that Flash feature. That is John Walker, who we will see later in the run because he does come back into the present. So it's set up here now, but we'll see him later.
But so they all fight the same villain,
Which that
Atom
was cool.
Smasher. It's a very neat idea. It's just the execution fell a little flat.
I think that's just because it's written by 4 writers from 4 different eras, and it's a little bit jumped.
Yeah.
The art's still fantastic.
Oh, big fan of the art.
It's very much a love letter to the Flash. I think this was like a 50-year special or something.
Easily could have been.
Probably, yeah.
This came out, what, 90-something?
91, so Flash was...
Yeah, Golden Age Flash would have been 40-something, so I could see that.
Yeah, and then with Barry Allen, I know he makes his appearance with Carmine on art in the 50s.
What's the number of the special? I'll just look it up quick.
It's just called Flash Special number 1.
Yes, I believe that is correct.
All right.
But, I mean, it's like I said, it's a story of the Flash, of every Flash of a different era taking on the same villain. And I like how the villain just kind of reinvents himself to try to tackle a different era of the Flash, but he's always constantly outsmarted and beaten because the Flash, while he's super fast, not quite super strong, just not super strength-wise, but I like how this really kind of signifies how he uses his mind to beat all of his villains, which I always loved. The second issue in here, I liked a lot more that Flash annual with the future Barry Allen. I'm sorry, the future Wally
This
West.
tied into the Armageddon 2001 annual crossover event, something or another that happened in 91.
And just a quick note, the Flash special did come out in 1990, so it was a 50th anniversary special.
Okay. Which I'm assuming they probably did one for Batman and Superman, maybe not too far before that.
Definitely. I'm sure it's not out of the...
But it is a special. It totally works well. It's definitely
like I said, I
liked
the idea of connecting all of the Flashes over this 50-year period. I think it's a great. It was a great intention, and I think they almost got it. It felt a little stale to me.
And that's perfectly fine.
It almost felt like you were reading 4 separate issues, and you thought it was going to be one, so it just already felt really long.
Like I said, it is a little bit hard to get through. I mean, I don't want to say skip it if you do pick this book up, which you definitely should pick this book up.
I wouldn't say
it's a
skip
fun
it.
read. Like I said, it's a little bit of a slog, right? But once you get to Born to Run, you hit the ground running.
I think, if nothing else, because these issues are hard to read, it makes Born to Run and everything after so much better.
I would agree with that.
It's a breath of fresh air.
And going into I liked the Armageddon 2001 annual annual tie-in a lot better, actually.
So the premise for this was there's some 90s guy.
It's Wave Rider.
Wave Rider. He basically touches someone and kind of shows them their future, sees their future.
Yeah. If I remember, Armageddon 2001 was about... I'm sure... I always like saying this because I know Vince will go and correct us in the comments because he's got nothing better to do.
Of course.
But what I really like about it is, I remember about Armageddon 2001 is, someone does this bad thing or commits this crime, and Wave Riders can touch you and feel it. He's going around to all these DC heroes and figuring out who's causing the Armageddon, and he wants to try to put an end to it. So that's why, everyone got a crossover. But from what I know is, Batman got a crossover, but also Detective Comics got a crossover. So, Wave Rider and Batman interacted twice, and the futures were just completely different as well.
Oh.
That's what I remember them saying about this in the iFanboy review for this book as well.
I think it's something about it also maybe affects gets perceptions of the people around them as well, because when Wave Rider touches Wally, he's talking to this girl that is not Linda.
Yeah,
and when you jump to the future, he's married to this girl he's talking to right here. But at the end of this issue, they just kind of part ways and never see each other again.
I think it took me a little bit to remember to see that was Wally West first, because he does not have his trademark red hair. He's basically kind of in this
in this issue. Even his costume, I can see it right here.
It's Barry's costume.
It's like it doesn't have the white eyelids. I don't know. I can flip pages.
I guess if you're ever wondering which Flash is which, the easiest way to tell is that Wally's costume is a darker shade of red. He has white eye slits, and the belt on the waist is just a little bit different.
And once you get later on into like John's era, and especially when Barry comes back again, his lightning bolt has 2 points on the sides instead of 3 like Barry's.
That's right. And then also later on when after we did Rebirth, he got this cool crimson suit.
Yeah.
It only stuck around for like a year because then New 52 wiped out everything.
Mm-hmm.
But
so Wally's future in this, is he depowered or does he just not use his powers? I forget.
it seems like he's.
I think he's
just
depowered.
It seems like he's definitely taken a hit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe I think it's implied that like he's just kind of lived without. He's in witness protection because like there's this villain who found out who he was, and that's why his hair has changed. That's why he has a different alias. Mm-hmm. But he's living with his wife and his son.
His wife, who is not Linda.
Who's not Linda, and it's not even like an alias name. It's not Linda Park.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a kid who's not Wally's 2 kids he would later go on to have.
Yeah.
But like his son develops superpowers, right?
Yes, but he doesn't have like the Speed Force to like protect him, so he gets like full friction and like
he gets fucked up.
Yeah, he like has burns and stuff on his body whenever he uses his powers.
Yeah, so and I think from doing that, somehow that villain finds out about his son in the Flash, and basically it's kind of like, all right, he kidnaps his son, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, and then so Wally West has to don the outfit of the Flash one last time to save his son.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty cool.
I think is this what had the power transfer somewhere randomly?
Yeah, he gives the powers to his son at the end.
That's it, yeah.
But like he fights all of his old villains also, and it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a nice little annual. Like I said, it's an annual. It's a one-off.
It's a nice little like pseudo Elseworlds kind of like take on.
I'd say as much as we don't enjoy these 2 annuals as the rest of the stuff in this book,
they're not bad comics.
They're not bad, and I think this does a good job of brushing you up on the history of the Flash before you get into the meat. The
Flash
cheese.
special that comes in the beginning. At the end, it has a ton of flash facts and stuff like that like gives little bios on the various Flashes, their various villains and rogues galleries, and other things like that. So it's definitely a good refresher and a great place to start if you haven't read any Flash stuff.
So, and going on from that, we get into which Flash Year 1. Every DC character gets to have their seminal Year 1 story. This is Wally West's as Mark Waid tackles retelling the origin of Wally West beginning in Flash number 62.
Mm-hmm.
Flash Volume 2, I believe.
Yes, Volume 2.
Volume 2, number 62, with Born to Run, written by Mark Waid, with the amazing Greg LaRocque on art, who we were talking about this earlier. I think Greg LaRocque is my definitive Wally West artist.
He is very good. Nelson and I were talking about this earlier, but he draws his characters very proportionally and like they don't look cartoony, they look correct.
But the thing about Greg LaRocque's art is almost it's clearly like it fits that 90s style, but like it's not over the top.
Yeah.
Which I think really works. And it's almost like it's like this perfect blend of almost like the 90s artist. Like there's like I feel like there's a little bit of a Jim Lee vibe into it, but it also blends the cartoony style of like a Ty Templeton that really just kind of makes it timeless and great.
Mm-hmm. So this issue starts off, Wally is racing to an airport to find a bomb and get it out before it can do any harm.
Yep.
And he succeeds and eventually goes to, I believe it's his grandfather's house.
Yes, which by the way, as you're flipping through the book here, you're talking about, oh god, the colors in this are just, they're so nice.
They're bright, they're vibrant.
Even though his suit's darker, those colors on that suit are great.
It looks shiny. It's a metallic sheen
so like
to it.
Even though it's darker, you still get that bright, reflective look.
But I think this is just stuff you don't really see from a lot of comics of that era. Just like everything's just so on point.
Mm-hmm. And so what Wally does once he gets to his grandfather's house is he goes through boxes of his old stuff, as most people would do, and he finds scrapbooks that his Aunt Iris made for him.
Yes.
Of this time he went to Central City to visit her.
The greatest summer vacation ever.
Yep. And So it jumps back in time to when Wally is a kid. Barry is still alive at this point. He's dating Iris. And Wally loves the Flash.
Yep.
Huge fan.
Because he's from one city over.
Yep. Or isn't he still in Blue Valley or?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, he is still in Blue Valley. I'm
He's
sorry.
still living with his parents.
Mm-hmm.
And
he would later go on to be one city over.
So he sees the Flash fight some. I think they're just common crooks.
Yeah, they're just kind of a very standard comic crooks, but like he's going to live with his Aunt Iris for a few weeks in the summer because Wally's home life is not the best. It's implied that his parents are kind of not really great.
Not the greatest.
Not the greatest in the world, but his Aunt Iris, though, is amazing.
She's his best friend.
She's his best friend. And she's like, hey, come out, hang with me. Let's get you. Like, I know how I think it's his. I can't remember if it's her sister that's Wally's mom, or her brother that's Wally's dad.
I could check, but I also just don't feel like doing it.
And she's like, but she definitely sympathizes with him, and she's like, all right, come out, hang out with me.
Yeah.
I'm dating this guy named Barry Allen. Now, what's funny, unbeknownst to Wally, is that Barry Allen is secretly the Flash. But also, Barry Allen's kind of a lame guy that he sees just kind of getting in the way.
He's so boring.
It's so boring. It's amazing.
I wouldn't hang out with Barry Allen.
No.
Would not get a drink with Barry Allen.
But even so, you can get a sense of he's not a bad guy.
Oh no, he's definitely like if he did it, he's the kind of guy that would help me jumpstart my car. He's a good guy.
You can get a sense for why, but I love how he looks. Like why is Aunt Iris with this guy?
Yeah, no,
it's so great.
The entire summer, Wally's just
she really chose this guy,
hell?
and he explicitly
she's engaged to him.
Says this he has no idea why,
and it's amazing.
And quick thing, going back to what's happening in the story. So Wally's just on the street. I think he's still trying to find his Aunt Iris.
Yeah, because he gets caught in the crossfire a little bit.
He sees Flash fighting these villains, and he's like, Flash, watch out.
Yeah.
And Barry, in something that I think is just quintessentially Flash, stops afterward and says, thanks, kid.
Yeah.
And it's just this great thing. And, you can just tell, from the art and, the narration and, all the dialogue, this is, the best moment in Wally's life right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and you see his smile, and it just makes you smile.
Yeah.
And
so
book almost makes you a little bit teary-eyed by how well Mark Waid paints out Wally's love for Iris and Barry. This paints Barry as on the pedestal of
he idolizes him.
He idolizes the Flash. You can't through him you find out how great of a person Barry Allen was. And I'm gonna say I'm not even because of time passing and the way how things have gone down. I'm not the biggest Barry Allen fan. Which is kind of weird because I'm a huge Hal Jordan fan, not a big Barry Allen fan. And I think that's kind of in time we've seen very divisive. It's for the people that have started getting into comics lately. Barry Allen's their guy, but for people that were, I guess, for us and before that, I was born in '95, so up until about 2011, Wally West was my Flash.
Yeah,
that was I knew the Flash had died in Crisis on Infinite Earths, but 1985, and that was it. The Wally West was my guy.
Right. And I'll just say this is the first Flash comic I've read. I own the New 52 Manipul Omnibus, have not actually read it yet. So this was the first Flash that I was introduced with. Instantly fell in love with Wally West as the Flash.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this is kind of a segue here. I feel like some people are it's fine to have your definitive Flash. That's fine. But it's, I guess I got getting hypocritical. But it's some people are getting to that point where it's either you love Barry or you love Wally. I'm you can love both of them.
They're both wonderful
you're allowed
characters.
To
I like both characters.
And the thing is, they're meant to be different people.
Yeah.
Especially in the ways that they interact with each other. It's their family. And it shows.
I think Young Justice captured that pretty well.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of that.
There's that one episode where I think it's Barry and Wally go over to the Garricks to have dinner. And it's just that's exactly what would happen.
Right.
In this story, like you said, they're different people. You can see what Wally learns to become the person he becomes from Barry and Iris, though.
Absolutely.
That sets him on his course.
Absolutely. Especially when Volume 2 comes around.
With
the return of Barry Allen.
Which, we'll get there, hopefully.
We'll get there. That's not for today, but...
That's not for today. We're just focused on Volume 1.
So,
also, I still got to read Volume 2. Hope they get to the
So, moving along with the plot of this Born to Run story, he finally finds his Aunt Iris, and he goes to lunch or dinner or something. He gets food with her, and Barry's also there.
Right.
And, of course,
And he's late.
Barry's late. Trope.
Wonder why.
And so they go back home, and this entire time, like Nelson and Mike were saying earlier, Wally's just, like, bored out of his mind.
Yeah.
Barry's talking about his job, and he's just like, sounds interesting. That's awesome.
And especially after he's already had an interaction with the Flash, who's his greatest idol of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Of anything afterwards is going to automatically seem like a downgrade.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then after they get back to Barry's apartment, Barry's just like, well, I know, I can tell I'm kind of boring you, I'm sorry, but I know the Flash. And of course, Wally's immediately just like
a snap moment of like, okay.
You do. And again, Barry does this like quintessentially Flash thing where he's like, all right, go into this room. He's in there already.
Yeah.
And so Wally goes into this dark room, and Barry just zips by him in Flash suit and is like, hey, kid.
Yeah, and it's great.
And yeah, he just like talks to Wally for a bit. It's real cool. I think he tells him about how Barry got his powers. So it's kind of like a stealth little origin for Barry too, if you're just jumping on at this point as well. And then at the end, as Barry is saying,
fate has itself.
The moment Barry says lightning never strikes twice in the same place, the exact same thing that gave Barry his powers gives Wally powers.
Yep, and that's the
end of the first
That's
issue.
the end of the first issue. I love the cover to the second issue of 63 with Flash and Kid Flash on there. Just a little bit of disappointing thing here on Born to Run is you don't get to see. You get to see his original Kid Flash uniform, which is just the Flash uniform.
Yeah, it's
a smaller Flash uniform.
It's a smaller Flash uniform. You don't get to see... I really like his yellow Kid Flash uniform.
His yellow one is good, but I think it makes sense because this just happens within the one summer, so...
Yeah, exactly, which is fine.
It wouldn't have made sense to have it.
No, it wouldn't at all.
Would have been nice.
But yeah, we move on, and then the second issue is Tim learning about his powers.
Yeah, I think a small amount of time has passed, like maybe only a day.
What I really like about this is it's not like 6 or 8 issues. It's like Batman Year One. It's 4 issues. Mm-hmm. It gets everything it needs to say in, and it gets out.
And like it has very distinct chapters in Wally's summer.
Exactly.
Like, and while it might only occur over a few days or a few weeks, they're very distinctive periods
in his life.
Yeah. So he gets powers, struck by lightning, doused in chemicals, whatever. Barry notices he has powers, and Barry's just like, oh, what do I do now?
He's like, oh shit, so Iris is gonna kill me.
So Barry goes out to train him.
Right.
With baseball.
Yeah.
Has a nice game of catch with his father figure. Well, soon to be father figure.
Yes.
And I think some of the cool stuff that they do, and like Mark Waid specifically, like he narrates a lot of Wally's like perceptions of being fast all of a sudden.
Right.
And like with the baseball, he's
saying
which
helps
like
him adjust.
The ball slowed down, but it didn't fall. And it's like it's kind of neat to get that perspective to us. Like it almost gives you the sense that you are moving as fast as Wally.
And is it in this issue you find out that his powers aren't exactly like Barry's, where you find out that through his metabolism he needs to eat more because he gets really weak, right? I think right after they play the game of catch. And he's like, all right, that's weird, but like so. Barry has to figure out some different... You definitely find out... You find it out in the story.
You find it out in the story, yes. But I think what happens after that is they go and, oddly enough, find like the same group of criminals from the last issue.
Yes.
And fight them. There's another really cool scene where Wally starts deflecting Uzi bullets, and Mark Waid narrates over it saying, like, I can't just catch these. These things are moving really fast. They have a ton of inertia to them. And like, small amounts of physics, woo. But it's neat. So he deflects all of them. They build they just steal some poor mason's bricks and just build a cage around these guys.
Yeah, like it's very cartoony but like zany fun, but it totally works.
Oh, it's what you want. Like this is
the perfect superhero book.
Kid becoming a superhero, so you almost expect it to be a little bit childish in a way because like they're having fun.
And it's like, I think if I were to describe Mark Waid comics by one thing, I'd say Mark Waid comics fun.
Yeah, and like Wally's having the time of his life because not only did he get a chance to meet his hero, he's getting a chance to work with and be like his hero.
Oh, none of that. I get to be Kid Flash? Like,
Yeah, and then
what?
after they take care of these criminals, they go back to Barry's apartment again. Barry gives him a flash ring with the Kid Flash outfit.
Yes.
And then at this point, Wally does not know that Barry and the Flash are the same person.
I love how Wally as a kid wears a Flash t-shirt.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
It's great.
Of course he would.
Mm-hmm. So, and then it ends with a cliffhanger onto the next one.
With my favorite Flash villain.
Mirror Master.
Mirror Master.
Yep, so Flash 64, still part of Born to Run. This is where we get into Mirror
Covers on
Master.
these issues are just...
Oh, they're
They're
fantastic.
great. I like the lightning
Glorious.
bolts along the side.
Actually, the cover in the front of the book is really great too. It's a mashup of some of the covers, but it's so beautiful.
It's great.
I believe it's a mashup of 63 and the annual in the back.
So, what happens with the end of 63 and the start of 64, parts 2 and 3 respectively, is they give a little bit of a kind of like flash forward in this flashback, and it's like too bad it had to end. So it shows
and I had to go back home.
Yep, and it shows Barry on the ground with Mirror Master over him, like gloating, and you're like, oh shit, what happened? And this is where Barry is still teaching Wally how to be a Flash and like use powers, and he's trying to get him to phase through things, and Wally just can't do it. And that's like a kind of recurring thing, if I remember. Let's see. Yep, he makes a him-sized hole in a wall. Kind of comical, kind of great.
In the Flash.
Yep, and it segues off. He talks to Iris for a while, and I believe she's working on some report for something. And he figures out, he sees this picture of some guy, and he's like, weird. It's all goofed up.
Like I said, what I like about the Flash is how he uses his mind a lot to beat the villains.
Wally notices that the picture is flip-flopped. It's reversed, and he's like, they're mirror images. Mirror Master.
Yep.
So he runs off to find this person, follows him into the desert, finds his hideout.
Doesn't Wally run away from home?
That's later. That's the next
later?
one.
That's
I
later.
believe that's the next issue. And Flash is trapped by Mirror Master. Wally thinks he killed Barry by breaking
trapped
the mirror.
him in this like prism.
He
mirror
tried
thing.
to I think phase through a mirror, and he broke the mirror.
Right.
Because he still can't phase. And then you find out that he didn't kill Barry. He's still alive.
Right.
So they end up defeating Mirror Master, bring him back in, and this is where they go to a doctor, and Wally suddenly doesn't have his powers.
Right.
Right. He has like a sort of almost like a rejection, like a physical,
Like
almost like a bad organ, like a rejected organ transplant. They have to like see a doctor about it.
The thing
so much pain.
which is funny, just because like you normally I'd think the whole Flash suit is like a unitard, and like he's just sitting there, but his shirt's off, and it's just funnily awkward with just his mask on.
I always wonder how they keep the two pieces like connected, but like so flush. With
But like also the
that's just comics,
the hat,
and also
like I don't know.
It's just one of those things.
He's moving so fast, he always looks perfect.
Or conversely, he just moves fast enough to adjust it all the time.
I think the Flash should wear
constantly
Converse on the suit. I think that would be cool.
But so moving into the final
we'll get
issue,
to that later, because Wally later in the book does have to buy a new pair of shoes.
He does. But so getting into the final issue of this Born to Run little series here, Wally has to go back home. He's like straight up depressed.
I mean, as any kid would be.
Because like he's leaving like the best place on Earth in his mind, leaving his best friend Aunt Iris.
The cool powers he got are gone.
Life dangled the carrot in front of him and then yanked it away.
Yeah, exactly.
In like an afternoon.
So he's just like super sad all the time now. He has a Flash bedspread.
I mean, he's an appropriate age for a Flash bedspread.
Yeah. This is true.
If you're over the age of 20 and have a Spider-Man bedspread, you might have a problem.
Back to this, he's super depressed. He goes out into a storm, he storms off into a storm.
Ding.
So he climbs up a tree, and, it's raining. He's sad. Symbolism or whatever. So his dad, who, by all accounts that we've seen so far, isn't, like, a great dad or anything. But he comes, and Wally even says himself, like, I don't know what shocked me more, that he found me or that he actually knew how to climb a tree. So his dad is like, Wally, the fuck, come down, please.
Right.
This is dangerous.
This is highly dangerous, sir.
And Wally says to him, I don't love you. Wally's in a bad place.
Yeah. And as he's
And
saying
as he says that, lightning strikes the tree. They fall. The tree falls on his dad. Not sure how he's still alive.
Oh no,
to be
the
honest.
tree trunk that falls on him easily crushed him. Like
If he isn't crushed, there's a 80% chance he's impaled by a limb.
There is no way Mr. West survived this.
But
And
he
of
did
course
because
in this-
comics.
Of course, in this turn of events, Wally's just like, oh god, no, I did love him. So there's a tornado coming, and he's like, alright, I'm gonna try and get through this. Runs, stumbles, falls, eventually gets his powers back.
Yep.
Stops the tornado. I believe he karate chops the tree, and it breaks into a million pieces, and his dad is fine.
Yep.
And so he goes back, talks to his granddad a bit, and
It's like,
just
you're
kind
Aunt
of-
Iris. She was a great person.
Yep, and the issue just kind of ends on a nice note while he's having a good time with his granddad and had fun reminiscing about his first summer being the Flash.
Yep. And this is not the last time we will see Aunt Iris.
No, of course not.
Because later on, she does return.
So next up in the issue is a Flash and Aquaman kind of team up.
It's a 2-issue team up. It's 2 issues?
I don't think so.
I thought it was 3.
2,
I think
3?
I think it's only one issue.
No, it's
I could-
definitely
It's 2. It's
I
definitely
thought it
2.
was- I feel like
Because the
I-
first one
oh.
ends with him getting tied up.
Fun fact: or at least this book, I'm not.
Is that has the infamous hot dog panel?
It's
that we
the
like?
hot dog panel.
We
The
love the
hot dog panel is in the next issue. But no, see, the next issue is Abracadabra. I think this was only one issue.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow, I guess you're right.
I remember this being
No,
two.
it's 2. Oh, no, it's just
No,
1.
it's one.
I felt like it was 2.
It
Read like
did.
it was 2.
So, Wally and Linda are on a cruise ship.
Which, by the way, I think we need to point this out. Wally West does not have a secret identity. He's a public hero.
He does not. But yes, so Wally and Linda on a cruise ship. They're just vacationing or something.
Which,
And,
this is the first time we see Wally West's girlfriend, Linda Park, who is a news reporter, just like Wally's Aunt Iris.
Correct. And some weird things happen. They are getting herded into some rocks by some whales. It's weird. Aquaman comes up, and they're
really
like weird.
big whales.
Really, it's cool,
relative-
long-haired
relative
Aquaman.
to the size
It
of
is.
the ship. Big
It is
whales.
worth noting he has both his hands.
Yeah,
still.
he does not have his hook hand yet. And it's before the beard and, like, the weird, like, chainmail armor thing.
So Wally blacks out, as does everyone, and they wake up. They're strung upside down, and there's sharks under them, and people are being forced into slavery by the Marine Marauder.
Yep. Like, because we're wondering, why would Aquaman do this? Aquaman's a good guy.
So you find out that she also has fish-based telepathy,
Yes.
And
and
an
is
18-inch tall mohawk.
at the least.
That thing is.
Was it a
well
mohawk
kept.
or was it a fin? I thought
Do
it
you
was
think
just
it's-
like a
Nah,
fin
see,
on
Do you
the
think
top
it's
of the costume.
hydrodynamic? Do you think it helps her swim?
Probably
I hope so.
Probably as a fin. Well, see, the thing is it like it curves forward, which isn't something you'd really see in fish
And-
that have those kinds of
That's
fins.
true. It does
Unless,
look like
unless
they're-
she swims facing the
like
ground.
in the fetal position. I'm not totally sure.
I'm not going to question
Email
comics designs
Mark
of the
Waid's back on
90s.
Twitter. We can ask
Just
him.
saying. Do you remember why? Did you create
That
this
seems-
character?
Dear
No,
Mr. Wade, do
that
you remember in
seems-
Flash number 64
That
why
seems like
Marine
such a specific question. He'd probably respond to it, especially from the.
Did
from
he
the
create?
Shoots of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Was this
account.
character created for this issue, or did they
Oh,
exist
probably
before?
not.
I don't recall.
Can
this
we ask him anyway?
character ever appearing?
We'll get back.
I mean,
to
we're not
dear
talking about
listeners.
politics with him. He might answer us.
Yeah.
But so you get a little backstory of how Aquaman came to be under her control, and so you have a nice little Flash and Aquaman team up. Flash puts some scuba gear on. It
He
might
does.
make sense. They get into this ancient temple that Marine Marauder's trying to get into.
True, just true.
And
find the buried treasure.
yep. Looks like a crown of some kind.
Just a one-off story. It's really
It was fun.
It's not bad.
It was fun. I remember.
It's not great. It's a fun story.
I read this over the summer. I was sitting by a lake on a gorgeous sunny day, and it was just a fun little story.
And like I said, we keep going back to this point. Mark Waid comics, fun. This was fun.
One word, fun.
So the rest of the issue is Aquaman gets mind controlled by like a helmet or some shit. Summons a tidal wave. Wally tackles him or some shit.
Not the first person to make that mistake, though. I've done it like 5 times.
They're both consonant.
They both end in Y's.
Double consonant Y. Barry and Wally.
Yeah.
Very, very hard to differentiate sometimes. And then Wally throws all the people from the cruise ship and other slaves and stuff into a cave, quickly piles some rocks up. Somehow that's waterproof, and they survive this tidal wave. Marine Marauder, meanwhile, is outside, and he and Aquaman shake hands and just kind of go away. So this
separate ways.
The next 2 issues, I believe, are an Abracadabra story.
Yes.
I love these 2 issues.
they're crazy fun.
The colors, especially once they go into the future, the colors are phenomenal.
So, for those of you that might not know, Abracadabra is a pretty famous Flash villain. He's set up as a magician. He's actually not a magician. He's just from so far in the future that his tech is basically just magic to us.
Yeah, to us simpletons.
Mm-hmm. So he comes back, pulls himself out of a hat, as a magician should do. And Wally's in the middle of doing some, like, charity basketball game.
Yeah.
Him versus basically the Globetrotters.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's hilarious.
I just can't get enough of Wally's jokey inner monologue, and especially like when he gets to do just silly stuff like this.
Anytime he interacts with Linda in the Flash costume, it's great.
This is a guy that like just loves being the Flash.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It
loves it.
His entire life is just being the Flash, and he can't get enough of it. It's just
it's funny. Like he lives in this little rundown apartment, but boy does like the only thing matters. It don't matter. His house sucks.
Right. It doesn't matter if your house sucks when you can go anywhere you want. In seconds.
Yeah.
I do like how he says he needs to keep buying shoes, and like it's a good thing he got that JLA card carrying membership for that sponsorship from work, so he has like a year's supply of shoes or something.
And this is the issue with the infamous hot dog scene.
Yes, the hot dog scene.
He's just shoveling hot dogs into his mouth.
I wish I could do that.
Right.
The efficiency is just unparalleled.
And Linda's just like,
she's
disgusting. Moderately. Well, come on. There's no way this is the first time she's seen him do it, but she's definitely not a fan of his.
She definitely has to understand that he needs to do this so he doesn't die.
Right.
I think she gets it, but at the same time, she's just like,
it's still
of all the food you could be eating, like mass quantities of, you're picking hot dogs.
But let's be honest.
I think that's where she's
at. Them in mass quantities.
Oh yeah, and especially like right outside the basketball.
And he doesn't feel the effects of the fatness of all that food.
No, he
probably eats like 50 McNuggets at a time, and he's good to go.
Yeah. No. So
Wally West is living the dream. I've always said that like it's always fun to talk about what superpower do you want to have. Wally West is the superhero I would totally want to be. Yeah, I love Batman, and Batman would be fun, but Batman's too much for hard work.
This is
fun.
It's such a convenient superpower, and when you can eat whatever you want.
Yeah.
In large amounts
when
of quantities.
When I already have the hair for it, it's just like, please God.
See, well, since you have your beard, now I'm wondering, bearded Wally West?
I mean, I'm a huge proponent of superheroes being better with beards.
I mean, we did see Superman have a beard.
Thor,
Superman. I was a big fan of Super Dad with the beard.
Batman sometimes.
Well, Jim Lee always draws him with that stubble, and I always like that.
I like the stubble because he does not seem like the person who has the time to shave.
He shouldn't.
I'm not the biggest fan of the stubble. I like
it depends. For me, it depends who draws it.
That's true.
Clayman draws it too. Clayman's Batman's great.
I'm gonna look that up really quick while we're talking.
To me, the only problem I have with Batman having stubble is that Bruce Wayne should not. And
Bruce Wayne should not have a beard. No, definitely not.
Like Bruce Wayne is clean shaven, 100%.
Batman has a beard in he has a beard in Venom. He's like sitting there like with Venom pills, and he's this long beard.
Okay, you know what? It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely works. Clayman's, and I think it's almost like a 5 o'clock shadow thing. Like he shaved in the morning, but it's nighttime now.
I've been up for 20 hours.
Right. So yeah, he's gonna have a bit of stubble. That's
It's a nice shadow
works,
because
yeah.
he can shave in the morning, still be prim proper
Still be
Bruce
clean
Wayne.
cut Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm. But so getting back to the Flash and this story at hand. So Abracadabra comes back and has a grudge against the Flash, as a villain is wont to do. So he attacks
He's all,
Wally.
like, weird and burnt too.
Yeah,
yes,
he's like,
yes, he is.
Yeah, he just looks
I
all.
was like, oh god.
Actually, like kind of.
Mm-hmm. So
frightening.
What happened to you?
They fight. I feel like they explained it, but I just don't remember and
Yeah.
don't want to go back and look for it. But so they fight.
He's under arrest by the future police.
Yeah, future police come. She's wearing, like, less than a thong unitard.
And a leather jacket because it's the 90s.
Exactly. Well, it's how everyone dresses in the far future.
Of course. SpongeBob says chrome. DC Comics says unitong thongs and leather jackets.
Unithong.
Yep.
Ooh.
Don't forget the various braids going across your chest.
Oh, that's true.
Like strings
And
that
the hair.
have zippers
the
and buckles.
wildest hair.
The 80s hair makes a comeback.
I
in the
would
far
like
future.
I would like to say I feel like every goddamn person in this Flash book is a ginger. Fucking Wally is, this chick is. There's like probably another person somewhere later on.
You're running out of people after 2, I'm just saying.
Are there
There
more
was a
than 2
basket- there was a
gingers in this
stadium.
club?
There's probably a basketball player that was ginger, that's right.
There's
But-
this other future chick, but so
But no, the colors get wild when we go to the future.
so at the end of this book, they go back to Abracadabra's contemporary time, which is the far, far future.
Yeah, it closes out with that splash page. That
Mhm.
just.
It's a double page splash, too.
That's what I'm talking about with the colors. It's just it's they go to the future and it shows. They're
Yep.
like
Everyone's
lasers, explosions.
Though,
everyone's outfit
as
is like
wild
a
as
different
this
color.
is, I think the
Crystal
annual in the
pyramids.
back gets more wild, and I think it's a little bit of a detriment. Because this is more of a controlled wild. When we get to that annual we're talking about, it gets insane.
Right, because they're not in the future the whole time. So it's a measured amount of crazy. If the whole issue was like that, I wouldn't be as big a fan.
So they are in the future now, as we said. They're still
Are we on the
fighting.
annual at this point?
No, it's the second issue of Aber.
Yeah, that's right. We're on...
6.
Oh, that's placed there, and it's weird. That's why.
Yes. Yeah. Because the cover for this is like right before it.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's
I don't
kind
know.
of just weird cover placement at the end of this book.
Whatever. I don't have any real qualms with it. And then they capture Abracadabra fairly early on, and this is where they kind of learned what this future's all about. And so Abracadabra was kind of like everything kind of runs like a machine and like well oiled and like everyone knows what they're doing every second of the day. And Abracadabra was just like, I don't like this, and went to the past.
he's more artsy. He wants to be able to, right? I'm not getting that
and
totally wrong,
there's
right?
this person called the Chronarch, a amalgamation of Chron, like time and shit, and Arc, like a monarch. So basically, like, this person dictates every person's every second of every day.
Right.
And this is where you kind of find out maybe Abracadabra isn't a terrible
He's
person.
not the worst guy, maybe.
Yeah.
At least
Maybe
not.
he's
At least
just
not
trying
in,
to give
in his
people-
world. It just doesn't translate to their time.
Yeah, he's just trying to give people
That's
back
right.
freedom in a way.
Right.
Yep.
He's just kind of doing it poorly. So from here, I believe the Flash does something. I don't know.
I hope so.
He breaks.
This is a book about him.
Yeah, he messes with the time, like
The time cadoodle.
basically like the clock that everyone's running on.
Yeah.
He
Like I said, this is the one I am.
He
struggling to
slows
remember a
stuff
little bit.
down. He's like slows the time down, speeds it up, and of course, like everyone has like implants or whatever that like tell them what to do.
Right.
So like, there's this person that like gets dressed in like 30 seconds, like sprints out the door.
It's just chaos.
Yeah. So Flash and Abra are basically partners at this point. There's like a small war going on. And eventually Flash and Abra go back into the past, into the current present. Nope.
Wow. No.
So they're back in the present now. Abra gets put in jail, and that's the end. So up next we get the annual number 5 from 92, I believe it was.
I don't know if I read this annual. Did I?
Yes, this is
Flash
Annual 5.
I gotta.
It has to do slightly with Eclipse of the Darkness Within.
Eclipse of the Darkness Within.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Greg LaRocque does not draw this issue, by the way.
No, this is by Travis Charest with Dan Davis on
Which
this.
I really do like the art here as well.
It is very nice. This first opening page is a beautiful picture.
This is much more 90s art, too.
It is.
Sorry, which annual is it?
5.
Okay, I had to go back here.
So one of the neat things with this annual is you get a lot of the rogues, but I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe it's Wally's rogues. It's like the first time we see them.
Right.
So what happens is Barry has
Trickster.
his rogues, but then when Wally comes around, the villains become legacy villains, and new people take up the mantle.
Well, I believe, but Captain Cold always stays the same.
Captain Cold stays the same, and I think Golden Glider usually does. At least in
this
specific one.
I think Boomerang does as well.
I think in this one it's a different Captain Cold, but I don't think he sticks
I want to
around.
say Boomerang stays the same as well, and I can't remember if he's
He
dead
might.
by this point. No, he doesn't die until Identity Crisis. I start remember.
Chunk also appears in this. He's my favorite of Flash's supporting cast.
This is the first time I've seen Chunk, so I didn't really know about Chunk.
I saw him
hadn't seen Chunk
in
either.
Johns' run.
Okay.
He shows up in there and is he does a bit more. So basically, he has a black hole in him, so he can just like open that up sometimes. But he's like a science guy, and he's real cool.
He was a villain, right?
I believe he started off as a villain.
He's a reformed villain, I
They
think.
mentioned that in the issue that he used to be a villain. Also, quick comment. This is a much beefier Flash. than
Yeah,
we've
it's-
seen. Like, this is...
Like I said,
when
this is
you
just
see him
almost-
out of costume, he's jacked.
Oh, yeah, like, that shirt is skin tight. This is, like, bodybuilder
Like
Flash.
this is very much 90s art.
And I don't know if I'm a fan of it. I don't know.
I like it.
I feel like
I
it's
think,
it's
like,
not as
from a-
noticeable when he's wearing his costume. I feel like
Yeah,
he's a little
that's
slimmer
true.
looking.
It's definitely, I think, Travis Charest, I think, is trying a little bit of emulating some not quite Liefeld levels, but I think it's I can
the
see hints
90s.
of
Like, if
Liefeld
you're
and
gonna-
Jim
if
Lee
it's-
style in
If
there.
it's the 90s and you're looking at, you know, the bodybuilders or builders of that time, you know, going for this, like, perfect body aesthetic, like, that's what you're going to find. So, like, it's totally understandable.
So Wally's interaction with Chunk here is, I believe Chunk is kind of losing control of his powers just a little bit, not a lot, and he
Yeah.
needs Wally to go in and do something, rip some wire out or something or another, and he's all good. And Chunk and Wally are just like, I'm glad we're friends.
Yep. It's it's an annual, nice little simple story.
Mhm.
Actually, no, I think now that I see Kevin, I think Captain Boomerang might be different, actually. By the way, this is
think-
the issue where we find out that Wally's rocking a nice mullet.
Mm.
He's rocking a nice
Yeah,
90s mullet, taken
think-
after his friend Dick Grayson.
I think what happens here is Golden Glider enlists a new set of rogues. to help
Oh,
her
that's
out.
right, that's right.
So they all go and try to steal jewels from a museum, maybe. And yeah, they all plan to do a heist. She's dating the Captain Cold, probably a little weird. You know, not like her brother used to be that.
Right.
So, yep, they get into a museum, start to steal shit. Of course.
Everybody's kind of betraying everybody because they're all villains. And
like, they just came
trusted.
together as a team.
Right. So,
Right.
Of course they would.
Exactly. And so Wally eventually shows up. They're trying to steal this. They call it the Black Diamond of Spinachova. Whatever. And so what they do with it is they attach it. Somehow attaches itself in like the form of a boot to Wally. So he can't really run. I don't think it's really explicit as to...
No, it traps him on one leg.
Yeah, it's just on one leg. So he can still kind of run around, but like he's very
He's off
hindered.
balance, too.
And he has to... So the boot is connected via a chain to the diamond itself, so he has to carry that around as well. So he has to take care of these guys. He calls Chunk at some point, I think. Or maybe Chunk calls someone else. There's a car phone. 90s, everybody.
But it's like a 1980s car phone. Oh, excuse me, it's like a 1980s car phone.
Yeah, like in a like truck? Were those
Yeah.
like?
Crossroads
I'm
were
not-
everywhere, I think.
Were they everywhere?
I think so.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they were just.
But
like,
that
nice
style
cars.
of car phone I always associate with like late 80s, like
Mhm.
85 to up.
I also think it's hilarious how in this day and age it's so like there's advertisements and everything like don't text and drive, don't use your phone
But cars
without
used to
like a
have
handheld
phones
thing.
in
It's
them.
like, they
they'd
literally
have a
put
phone
them in
where,
there.
like, it was. It's on a wire. I'm driving with one hand like this.
Yeah.
Right. It's not even like the. Well.
Actually, with my latest iPhone update, it now has a feature where it will block all notifications if it can sense that I'm driving. So it keeps asking me to do that while
I
I'm
thought
on the
that
bus.
was a mode or something. I think that's a mode.
I have a
I mean,
I have a
it's a
Samsung.
feature
It's
that's on
always
this
had
update,
like a
so-
car mode kind
The
of
most
thing.
recent one?
I
The
never
most
use it
recent,
though,
yeah.
but
I
whatever.
don't know if I have that one yet.
It's killing my battery.
Yeah, I hope it's not. It's gotta be.
It's
like,
bad.
It's probably like a control center widget. I'd check out like the control center.
Oh, I haven't turned it on, but it just notifies me. I'm just
So
like, okay,
Barry
that's fine.
continues to fight with this new set of rogues. He eventually finds a hacksaw out of nowhere, or it looks like Trickster had one for some reason. He takes it, does some super speed, and gets the boot off. He's running around fighting rogues still, takes the diamond back from them, and for whatever reason, the diamond starts to vibrate, and he runs away from that, puts it in a wheelchair that he steals from a med center. Great job, Wally. It explodes or something. He throws it off a cliff. Goes back to fight the rogues. Believe they get away at the end. And for some reason, they're all half-shifting into Eclipso type people, which probably deals with this event more, but I had never read this event, so I don't know what the fuck's happening.
Oh no, I have no idea.
So, Golden Glider's like half Eclipsoed, and then at the end of this, Wally becomes Eclipsoed, so he's like evil or something, I guess, now. And then it just kind of ends there, and it probably continues on in the other annuals from there, but they are not included in this volume, and that actually brings us to the end of this book.
Yeah, I remember getting to the end of that and just being like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was an annual, and I wasn't expecting like a cliffhanger or anything like that, and I was just like, wait.
Well, and that's the thing. It's because it is an annual to a '90s crossover event.
I will say that is something I kind of wish people still did, in that they did events as
Yeah.
annuals. Because
So-
it just works kind of well.
If anything, I think this is hopefully a follow-up of something we'll see later in the run.
I think you don't. I think it's self-contained to those
it's
annuals.
Okay, so well, it's like then it's just kind of like one of those cliffhangers where it's like almost Twilight Zone, like where it's like.
If it makes you feel better, I honestly don't remember caring about it. So.
Yeah, I remember
No,
not
it
being a
was
big
just
deal. It's
like,
fine.
I don't expect, or I guess I just expect that a one-off kind of thing from annuals.
So I guess closing thoughts on the book.
Yeah, I guess we're getting into closing thoughts. It's really good. I like it. I don't love it, but I really I love Born to Run.
It's slow to start.
It's slow start.
It's a slow start. Born to Run really picks it up and really gets a lot of what it means to be the Flash, and specifically what it means to Wally to be the Flash.
For me, so much of this book was Born to Run that
Yeah.
I wanted a little bit more, because after Born to Run, it's a one-off with Aquaman, the two amazing Abracadabra issues, and then an annual. So there's not like a whole lot more.
There's a lot of
like,
cohesiveness to the stories.
right, and I think that's where like book number 2, it's probably like that book is easily my favorite comic, and I think that's part of the reason for that is that there's more ways for those stories to breathe on their own.
Well, yeah. When we get into that, there's more issues for the stories. They're not just kind of one-offs.
Yeah.
And this is very
there's
much
more-
screams
there's
the beginning.
more
This is the
issues
beginning
too,
of
so-
someone's run.
Right.
They're still finding their groove.
And for someone like knowing the background of Mark Waid trying to get this story going and trying to get the green light for it, like, knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to drop the book, and he was like, just let me write the story, and it kicked off my favorite comic that I've read to date. So, couldn't be happier.
And like I said,
with the start.
it's really, really good. It's if you're going into this thinking it's going to be the greatest thing in the world, like this is the end all be all Flash stuff, this is where it starts.
Mhm.
It's not here yet. We're gonna get there.
As of this recording, I've read the first and second one, and the third volume of Mark Waid's Flash is on the way to my house. But so I think
I haven't picked up the third yet. I haven't read the second one yet.
I think what's going to happen is we're going to read these through as they come out every
That's the goal.
Every couple months or so, and individually they're going to be good books. Some are going to be a lot better than others, but I think the real beauty in Mark Waid's Flash is when it's all out and we can all read it straight through.
All just so good.
And I think it's going to be one of those things where it's almost like Sandman or Starman, where it's this this narrative across decades.
And like I said, this is very different in some of the stuff we've reviewed on the channel, where it's not this one big cohesive. It's the beginning of someone's issues, years-long run on the character. Yeah. It's not like X-Men Omnibus #1 where a lot of stuff happens.
How long was this run? Wasn't it like 10 years?
Yeah, it's like around 9 years.
He gets off around.
Well, like I said, it's
2000, 2001, and then Johns picks up.
Here's the thing: the first run, Waid goes to take a break, and you can pick this up now. It's the
Morrison Millar.
It's the Morrison Millar stuff. That's
130 is about when that happens. Yeah. I'd hardly call it Waid having a separate run. It's more they have a good chunk.
He had a break.
It's a break.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we call it a separate run just because he did stop.
It's right, and I had seen the Morrison stuff out there. I might check that out.
It's his third run, which is the shortest, which when they brought Wally back.
Mm-hmm. I considered buying it in my last IST order, but decided against it since I'd rather read it in line with everything.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I remember when it first came out, like, oh, this stuff came out, and it was like, oh, well, this happens right in the middle of other stuff. So
I don't want to read that out of context.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, I love Grant Morrison. I'm a hit and miss kind of guy with Mark Millar, but I'm sure I'll like it. I mean, I love Morrison. Mm-hmm. But yeah, kind of like we said, this is the beginning of something great. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but man, it is a great starting point.
It's a lot of fun.
Born to Run's great.
Very fun read.
It's really great.
Very fun read and very just gorgeous to look at.
I think if you're looking for a Flash comic to start with or a Wally comic to start with, I think this is
the perfect spot.
Absolutely.
It's, I guess, start here or start with Johns.
I think both work.
I'd say start here, though.
I started with Johns. I think it'd be better to start here.
Yeah, because you get Born to Run.
I think the only annoying part is that this is still uncollected.
Yeah, it's still, as it's coming out, you can't just buy it all up in a lot right now. There's 3 books out now.
Which, granted, you technically can't do that with Johns' run because...
well, you can try to splurge on the Omnis.
You could, but that's hard to find.
Coming out,
Johns' fourth book just came out.
Yeah, but aren't the Waid trades? They're coming out
one every 6 months or something.
No, I think it's every 4 or 5. So it's not terrible. I don't know because I have a hard time. I have a huge backlog of stuff I need to read. So I don't mind
all?
That. Yeah. Well, I mean it's I'm just so busy. So I don't mind there being big gaps, especially if it gives me an excuse to come back and read some of those issues.
I know the third book just came out. I was like, oh, it came out. I'll pick it up. I'm not rushing to get it out.
I totally forgot about it until somebody mentioned it a week ago.
I someone mentioned a week and I was like, oh yeah, I guess it did come out. But a week before that, I was like, isn't the third Flash book coming out or something?
Yeah, I knew that it was coming. It came out in October, and I knew that going into it, and it just totally slipped my mind.
Well, wrapping things up here, hopefully we'll be back. I'd like to have you. I love both. You guys were both great. Love to continue this on with us here, and hopefully we will be back to tackle book number 2, which has Nelson's favorite comic story of all time,
The Return of Barry Allen.
The Return of Barry Allen.
I have a lot to say about The Return of Barry Allen, and I cannot wait to come back.
So hopefully we'll be back, and you guys stick around to come back as well.
Do we want to do our ratings for this book?
I think this book is. I always go on a 10 scale. I'd say this is. I feel like I'm going to be a little bit controversial here. I'm going to say 7.5.
No, that's it's above that. It's definitely because I consider a 5 to be average. This is definitely above average comics, but there are some slow spots, especially
those first 2 was a slow to get through.
It's definitely not the greatest thing ever.
But no,
I don't think every person that reads comics has to read this. I think This is more of
if you're a fan
want
of
to
the
read
Flash,
the
if you're a
Flash.
fan
of
of
the Flash
comics,
and you-
read this.
Right.
I don't think it's necessary for like, oh, you enjoy comics, you should read this specifically. I think it's, do you like?
It's a deep cut. I think it's a memorable run. I think
It's a
you
memorable
should
run. I think it's
like this.
If you like the Flash, if you like DC in general,
If you like Mark Waid,
if you like Mark Waid, I think
You're
if
gonna
any
enjoy this
one
book.
of those three happens, you should probably pick this book up.
it's a book like
It still holds up despite being from nearly 30 years ago.
yeah. I don't think anyone is gonna. I can't imagine handing this to someone and them not enjoying it.
No.
I'd also say this about it. I feel
Especially
like
if they're Flash fans going
Yeah.
into it, like if they just even if they
If you like the TV show,
even
yeah.
if they've only seen the TV show, like that's the experience I had going into it, and I had a ton of fun with the book.
if it's a perfect book that'll sit on your shelf. You're like, hey, what's something good to read?
Mark
Here,
Waid Flash.
Mark Waid Flash. It's great.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess we'll go around. What's rating here? Nelson?
I think I'm gonna go with 7.5 out of 10 too.
Let's do 7.5.
I think on a scale of Barry to Wally, I think it's a Linda, almost a Chunk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. All right, guys. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next time. You guys want to be trade? Bye as well.
No.
No.
I'm gonna leave them on a cliffhanger, just like this book.
Will I be back? No, I already said.
Tune in next week, or
Next
month,
week.
Next week.
or next
God.
indeterminate period of time for whenever we record this next one.
I don't
All right,
see why
guys.
I'm
Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you next time.